Welcome to today's webinar, Together Wherever, Expanding Digital Signage for COVID-19, Hybrid, Virtual, and In-Person Schools and Districts. I'm Walter, and with me today, I have Mark, our Creative Director, and Josh, our Developer. If you have questions during today's webinar, you can submit them in the chat, and we will answer them at the end. So what does your back to school look like? Teachers are having an uphill battle trying to convince people this is more than just Skype and Zoom meetings. Students are questioning the price of their education because of the limited access to campuses and activities. Families are keeping students at home because of concerns about what plan is best for their children. Everyone's back to school is different. What are the challenges we face today? The internet is still not everywhere. Not everyone has access to the internet, so how do we apply remote learning? As we talked about with higher education, how can we make sure students see a sense of authenticity and purpose when the classroom may be at home or in the school? How do we wrangle the problem of multiple platforms and tools? It may not be a problem of having tools, but finding the right ones and bringing them all together. When going remote, we tend to focus on completion of tasks and assignments. We need to make sure we don't lose this connection where we recognize achievements and goals, not just the tasks. With school being a main gathering point, how do we maintain our connections and collaboration, in person and remotely? Some students are thriving in this new environment. Like Gideon, they felt the classroom was outdated. Like Jacob, they can focus on their work more. And like Maud, they can harness their energy for the task at hand, rather than the room. Araya can help expand digital signage for COVID-19, including hybrid, virtual, and in-person schools and districts. Today we have 6 key areas to cover, and we'll be talking about 3 key topics. Advancing, using new technology and applying it to the current problems. Creating, where we design content for these new scenarios. What are the concerns? And realizing, we're going to show you examples of how this is being applied today. Here we see a complete picture. A system of connected digital signage, interactive, non-interactive, indoors, outdoors, and at home. This is what we're going to explore today, not just one place we can use Araya, but creating a complete system of connections with our various environments, devices, and users. We're going to talk about outside in the parking lot, inside school entrances, in the cafeteria, the classrooms, the gym, and at home. Look at the first step, outside the school. Not just at the entrance, we'll talk about that next, but actually outside. What about parking lot internet access for students that don't have access at home? Some of the schools and districts we work with are already doing this now. The same goes for providing Wi-Fi hotspots and creative ways to access the internet for those who don't have access outside of the school. Araya can help provide a common interface for students and teachers to access information across various devices and scenarios. Imagine pulling up in the parking lot, you open your laptop, and see the latest announcements and information. Content can be created for portrait and landscape, interactive, big, and small screens. You can push it to students and faculty as an app for phones and tablets. You can set it as the home page for students, or add it as an app on their laptop. We're not just creating digital signage. We're making content available through a common interface that is easy to access and update. By leveraging integrations with other services like G Suite, you can create and update content with tools you already know and use. And now Marco is going to show us what to consider when creating content for outside the school.
Thanks, Walter. As Walter mentioned, when students are outside of the school, like in the parking lot, there is this opportunity to connect with the devices students are using. One option you have with Araya is that you can set up your presentation to be in any orientation. So there is this question, when should you use portrait versus landscape? By thinking about what your remote audience will be doing, you can guess how they are most likely viewing your content. When people are concentrated primarily on the device for the work, they favor more of a landscape orientation. And when they're on the go using devices to support other functions, people tend to prefer a portrait mode. So they're holding it with one hand. So Araya gives you flexibility to reaching students. They can be at home, at school, some between both. So choosing the landscape format will be best here because they will be accessing a computer when doing their schoolwork, like on a Chromebook or in the classroom on a smartboard. And remember, adding touch points will create interaction, and this option is also included in every array subscription. With parents, a portrait landscape will be best. Some of our schools are actually using Araya as a communication app to parents, so it's most likely parents will be like on their phones on the go or at work trying to find some information, which makes the case for portrait here. So how do you set up a portrait or landscape presentation in Araya? Well, with Araya, it is really easy to do and part of the initial steps in creating a new presentation. When in Araya, you'll choose a new presentation. And the first step that pops up is to choose a template or custom. You'll select the custom. And then step 2 is choosing custom settings. So inside here, there's some drop down under the resolution where you'll find a number of presets. If you want the landscape orientation, choose Landscape 1080. Or if you want the portrait orientation, choose Portrait 1080. Also note the interactive settings on this page. Click the interactive box if you want to use touch points and create that app-like interaction. Then the last step is to name your presentation. Well, that's all it takes. And with just a few clicks in Araya, you can change orientation and turn on interactive elements. Now I'm going to pass it over to Josh to show you some live integrations.
Thank you, Marco. So in this section, I'm going to demonstrate how you can get your Araya digital signage content into the hands of maybe students, teachers, or even administrators and parents while they may physically be on campus but not inside of the building. One of the great features of Araya is just the simple fact that all the content is web-based and can be accessed by pretty much any device with a browser and an internet connection. One of the easiest ways to send out that URL or send out a link to your content is just using Araya's QR code feature with the link directing them to your Araya digital signage content. So over here in this example, we just have a big QR code up in the top right, and pretty much any modern major smartphone is going to have a QR code reader. So somebody could walk up, scan the QR code, and then be directed to bring up this same content right on their smartphone. The other way you can use a QR code is a physical sign or even a letter or a mailer that you send out to parents or students. So they can scan it and be directed right to the content. Another easy way to get that message out there is by using something like a Bluetooth beacon. And these beacons will send out a notification to opted-in smartphones, so when they're within range of the device, it'll actually prompt them to visit your content up in their notifications bar. They can even go a step further and install the application using Araya's PWA feature and install your content as if it were a native app on their device. So now I'm going to send it back to Walter, and he's going to talk about the next step of using digital signage content with entryways and entrances to the building.
Thanks, guys. Moving toward the building, what about the entrance, outside and inside? How can we connect with information as they enter a building? Entrance areas are great for information displays because of the common point of access. But signs on doors fall off and posters are ignored. Bright digital displays with updated and animated information get looked at. There are many opportunities for digital signage at the entrance. Outside on large LED signs, at doorways, or in entranceways with access controls and alert messages. Indoor displays to greet visitors, possibly with a virtual receptionist, and special scenarios like sanitation stations. If you have digital signage in this area already, you can probably repurpose it for a new use today. With Araya, you can integrate other hardware and software to trigger content or trigger other services from an interactive Araya channel. Some uses today include showing who is entering and exiting the building, who is calling, results of temperature scans, survey responses, alerts from Araya's built-in alerts or triggered from a third party via webhooks and RSS. If your school already uses a modern alerting system, chances are it can be integrated with Araya today. Now, Marco's going to show us more about how to create content that will have an effective message and make people look at your displays.
So yeah, as Walter's talked about, there are many ways for messaging to happen, but there's still the message itself that needs to be effective. With so much being pushed digitally to students, it's also important to design content that they will pay attention to. So how can you design these messages to be more effective? I like to focus on these 3 areas. The first is visual branding. So you need to know your school colors and use them. That means don't just pick any yellow or gray. You want to match your style or colors from your website for consistency. On your web page, you can inspect the colors to pick the values being used and apply those colors to your message, as shown here in the yellow and the gray. As for fonts, if your school has a certain fonts in your branding, you want to use those. You can even match the fonts on your website, and you want to only use 1 to 2 fonts on a page. And don't just jump around with a new font on every message. Stay consistent. And fancy fonts are hard to read quickly, so a good tip is to use a font that is more of a sans serif for messaging, as shown here in the emergency fire alert. And for your logos and symbols, you want high-res logos that look crisp and clear on the screen. Avoid having that white box around your logo. So that means you want to get a logo with a transparent background, which would be more of like a PNG file. And then you want to have different versions of your logo available. So if you have a dark background, a reverse logo would work well on that, or even on a photograph. In this example here shown in the green, you can see how the white text shows up way better. Then there's simple communication. You want to watch how much content is put on each message slide. You want a simple, clean look that is best, with 1 headline and 1 or 2 sentences, which will be enough. Students don't want to just be reading much more, and so you want to think about quick messaging. You want to organize your pages into sections, using colors to help divide the message. Also, it emphasizes importance. And also think about your background colors. Red for attention for emergencies, and you can use oranges and yellows for caution, and then green like more for the action. In this example here, the blues and grays break up the content really well. And then also remember to communicate with symbols and photographs. Students will understand icons quickly, and adding photos attracts more attention. You can even use emojis. Notice how adding this thumbs up creates more of a positive vibe to the message, which is more engaging for students. And have some fun with even Bitmojis for messaging. This could be your principal, and it shows a fun side to what might be a boring message. One tip here I want to show is to always watch your font colors. The change to yellow on white is much harder to read than the black on yellow. And then there's dynamic widgets and using that content. These are the feeds that change and update from your web sources. Array has many widgets you can add to create that creative interest to a message. Here are a couple examples. Like using our countdown widget on a reminder of an important date would work really well. The same message that might get played every day will be ignored, but now the content with the countdown element, this will be changing and it creates a lot more anticipation. And how about like a weather feed? If your message is about an outside event, having the upcoming weather could be very helpful for planning, and this also adds some additional interest. Well, that covers many design aspects to creating effective messaging. I hope this has provided some ideas for you to use on your display. Now Josh is going to show us some actual live alert features.
Thanks, Marco. In this section, we're going to be demonstrating what Array's alerting feature might look like to your users and what sort of messages they might see on the screen. Array's alerting feature could be triggered by a number of different sources, maybe an emergency notification system, weather alerts, or even a physical piece of hardware like a door entry system or a fever detection system. So in this first example, we're just going to simulate what it might look like if you're using motion detection and somebody walks up to the screen and it nicely asks you to just put on a mask. So we're going to look, it's going to detect my face, and as soon as it receives a notification, it's going to pop up and it's going to ask me, please nicely mask up and where I can get a mask if I need one. Over on the other monitor, we're going to simulate what a notification might look like coming from a fever detection system and in turn triggering a door entry system. So in this case, if somebody walks up and the fever detection system denies them entry, you can use digital signage to indicate to them why they were denied entry. So now I'm going to send it back to Walter, and he's going to be talking about using digital signage in the cafeteria.
Thanks again, guys. I know we start this webinar at noon, and some of us are getting hungry, so how about we talk about the cafeteria? How do we connect in a cafeteria? What is the cafeteria now? Is it a ghost town? Are students allowed in, or are they eating in their classroom? And how do they get the information from the menu board? What about the screens? Multiple screen menu boards don't translate well to phones and tablets. This may be a good time to think about how you share or embed this information with your mobile and at-home audience through easy integrations like Google Sheets. How are students at home getting nutritional information? With so many students relying on the school lunch system, how can we help them stay healthy at home too? And if you do have that entrance sign up in the cafeteria, what do you use it for right now? Are you using it for access control, notifications, and alerts? This is a good time to think about repurposing that existing screen for something new. Easy updates are best, because nobody wants to waste time. So what if you could update your menu board, your mobile application, entrance signage, and student portal just by updating a spreadsheet? Yeah, that's the kind of thing we like. Use Google Sheets to make easy updates to any text field on a menu. Items, pricing, nutritional information. Embed third-party systems to go farther with compliance and automation. And now over to Marco to see how easy it is to make a menu board with Google Sheets.
All right, so as Walter mentioned, menus can become integrated into your communications in new ways. And being able to offer a digital menu might seem like a lot of continuous work, but with Array, we've integrated Google Sheets to help keep your menu current. So begin by starting a new Google Sheet and organize your menu for each week. For this sign, we have a 5-day listing. Each column is labeled by the day and includes each item separately listed in a cell. What is typed in each cell will feed your menu. Note that this menu even shows today's breakfast item. Each cell is going to be linked to the menu board, so make sure it reads how you want it to display. So changing the spreadsheet will automatically change your digital menu. Complete your menu and name the sheet. This one is called Week 1. And for next week's menu, you want to duplicate this one and start a Week 2. The last step is to publish the sheet so it can feed your menu board. Under the File in the drop-down menu, select Publish to Web. That's all, and then exit and log into your Array channel. Now in Array, you can set up your menu using one of our templates or design a custom menu for your school. To integrate the Google Sheet, you will use Array's built-in widget. Under our Widgets tab, you want to select Google Sheets Data. In the Settings option, you will need to copy the URL to the Google Sheet and paste it into the Sheet ID section. Below that is a cell to identify. A preview will show the content from that cell. When you type A9, the French bread pizza boat displays. And then leave the worksheet number at 1. So the initial setup for each section of content will be a widget in your layout. Highlighted in the red, you can see each widget placed for the Monday listing. A9 shows up as French bread pizza boat on that page and has been moved into the listing at the correct location. A tip here is once you have one column set up, just copy and paste to duplicate the rest. Then go back into the settings and change the A cells to the B for Tuesday and C's for the Wednesday listings to automatically link the corresponding item. Once your menu layout is complete, the Google Sheet will now continue to feed your content. So that's all it takes to integrate your menu. I'm going to send this back to Josh, who is going to show you some live examples.
Thanks, Marco. So in this section, I'm going to quickly demonstrate what a cafeteria menu or maybe a concession stand menu would look like with Array digital signage. Behind me on the wall, we just have a simple 5-day menu on this landscape monitor, and we have a breakfast item and then a full lunch menu. So in this case, each one of these menu items is pulled from a Google Sheet. On top of that, you could also pull in nutrition information or maybe even pricing for a concession stand. The great part about using Array and some of the integrations is just how easy it is to update this and how quickly you can do it from wherever you are. In this case, since it's pulled in from a Google Sheet, I could go onto a laptop or another internet-connected device, make a quick change, and then as easy as going in and hitting push live, I can update the actual content with my changes. Once again, using something like Google Sheets, I can even use the Google Sheets app, go on a smartphone from wherever I'm at, and then go in, make a change, and hit push live to update the actual content. Now, Array isn't limited to just Google Sheets. We also have other integrations like List-E, so you can use an Excel sheet, or even RSS or XML feeds to pull in from a menu system. So now I'm going to send it back to Walter. He's going to continue talking about how to use signage in the classroom.
Thanks for showing us how easy it is to make updates from a Google Sheet. That's a great lead into our next area where we talk more about integrations, the classroom. The classroom has many areas to make connections with students and may be used and arranged in totally different ways today. Not everyone is in the classroom and may not be there on the same day, if at all. So one of the challenges is reaching all of the students, inside and outside the traditional classroom, at the right times. Using your Array app or link, students can interact with the information on tablets and desktops. The teacher can share the information using a smartboard or projector. Students at home can have the same information just like they were in the classroom. Even students on the go can access the same information from a smartphone. Leverage content integrations to make these updates easier and automatic. And don't forget this is interactive. Make it fun and something they want to use. You can even create separate apps for homeroom, individual classes, or activities. We also have several ways to schedule content, so you can take over the screen and show the right content at the right time. Schedule individual slides to show up for the right day, week, or month, or schedule the whole presentation to change for a timed event like the morning announcements, after hours content, or maybe streaming live events like the pep rally. Array's integrations with G Suite and other services are perfect for keeping a classroom up to date. Integrations with Google Sheets, Slides, Calendar, and even Google Forms, which can be nice for student surveys and challenges. If you use Google Meet in the classroom already, it's possible to embed Meet within Array, so your students can access the virtual classroom without leaving your app. YouTube and other streaming services are also supported and provide an easy way to live stream content. We'll talk about this more later. You can also embed content from other learning management systems or classroom utilities. If it has a button to share or embed, chances are you can show it in your Array content. The same goes for your website. It can likely be embedded within your Array app as a full site, or other ways like using the RSS widget to pull in school news as an animated ticker on your main page. And now, let's go over to Marco to see what we need to look out for when designing classroom content.
So as Walter talked about, there are many ways to keep students informed and connected, but how will you schedule and organize all this content? So what is flexible content? It's really about easily targeting content to a time, because the message told in the morning may not be necessary in the afternoon. So the idea I want to share is to have multiple presentations that play throughout the day. Let's have an ongoing daily message. This plays around the clock. This is more of that information board. A scrolling announcement can be on here. A slideshow of messages. It even had some reminders of this week's calendar. And this is where you would have that touch opportunity for parents and students to advance for further information to forms, calendars, event details, and do this all on their touch devices outside of school. Then let's have a morning presentation. Play and schedule this when school starts. This is where that live morning message would happen, and target some slides to welcome and motivate for the day, and run a message that informs of something new or current going on. Then at 9:30, the display would revert back and play to that ongoing daily presentation. So when the school is ending, have an afternoon presentation kick on. More of the dashboard feel would work well here. It can include photos of what's happened today, have reminders for tomorrow, and even events coming up. Now this signage setup would offer a lot of flexible content, but now let's get into how this is all set up. So in Array, you need to have 3 presentations set up, and that's a morning, an afternoon, and a daily. Then you'll schedule a time for each to play under the schedules. I've already set up part of the daily schedule here, plus a weekend schedule in the gray. Yes, you can even be that specific. You can edit your schedule anytime. You can even change the view to the days. In here, the blue showing the daily presentation played. The white blank area is the spot we're going to put the morning presentation in, and the green represents the already scheduled afternoon presentation. So let's start this morning presentation. Hit New Schedule. Inside here, you'll want the drop down to play the morning presentation. Then you'll want to add the start of the day and the time. And then the end day, which will be the same day because it's reoccurring, but then at 9:30 in the morning. And then you want to click on a color for the option in the previews. And then we'll select repeat every week here. And then when the weekly schedule comes up, we select Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to correspond with the school days. The last part is the end date, which will pick June 1st, 2021 for the end of school. If everything looks good, you hit create. Now you can see the morning presentation we made is in gold and slotted into that spot. And now the day is complete and ready to run. So one other powerful feature in Array is how you can target and play any image, message, or video. So within these 3 presentations we have scheduled, you have the flexibility to schedule specific content. Why is this powerful? Well, now you can load in a Halloween message to play, but schedule it to appear only on October 31st. You can do that today, and this allows you to organize your content ahead of time. So with a few clicks, this is how it works. You want to enter your slideshow section. Inside here are folders that you've created and loaded in your messages, images, or videos. To add a schedule to your image, then you want to select in the settings. So you go into your slideshows. And this one will do the daily news slide and hit slides. And inside here we have our 4 slides that are playing in the daily presentation. Now the second slide is one that expires or has a due date of October 31st. So let's add a time to remove this slide. So we'll go in the settings. We'll add the start day, which will be October 1st, and the end date, October 31st at noon. Now notice the clock icon on the slide. It's good to go. There you have it. These are all the array of built-in tools for creating a flexible display that can now target content throughout a student's day. Now we'll go back to Walter, who will lead us into new aspects to consider with Jim's signage.
Thanks, Marco. I like how detailed we can get with those schedules, and recurring schedules makes it even easier. Now let's talk about another unique area of the school, the gym. Students may not be in the gym, it may be physically distanced, or it may be even repurposed as another type of room. So without people in the bleachers, how do we get the events to remote viewers? Tools like YouTube and live streaming make it easy to broadcast events to remote viewers wherever they are. Live streams are also really easy to set up, and you can broadcast from almost any device that has a camera. Live streams work great with the scheduling feature, so you can override any content you have with the live stream at the right time. Another place we find digital signage in the gym is for informational displays and Hall of Fame displays. You may already have some now that can be repurposed. If it is a sign at the entrance, make sure to post your COVID-19 policies along with the gym and event schedules. You can make these easy to update by linking them to a Google Calendar or Google Sheets. Don't forget about what your remote users will see. How are they getting the live stream? We recommend embedding your live stream within an Array channel so your users have one place to go, one app to use. You can also push out information for people who may be doing their workout at home. Post workouts, routines, and general fitness information to keep them in the loop. Live streaming can come from several services. While we typically prefer YouTube for its ease of use and low barrier to entry, you may already use services that can be embedded within Array, like Vimeo and others. You can also enhance your stream with additional services, software, and hardware. Additional services like StreamYard give you the ability to make a professional-looking broadcast right in your browser. Switch between different sources, live and pre-recorded clips, insert lower third graphics, integrated social media commenting, and more. Additional software like OBS and other studio broadcast software give you full control over your broadcast, but may be harder to use and will have some learning curve. The streaming services are typically separate from the software and hardware you use to create the stream. Use a phone, a tablet, a PC, or even a professional camera with dedicated streaming hardware. And now, Marco's going to show us more about setting up a live stream.
All right, as Walter's mentioned, the idea of using a live stream is powerful and can be really fun and cool to use. But you're probably wondering how much effort this takes to set up. Well, with Array's YouTube integration, we've made it simple to go live. So the first thing you need is a YouTube channel. If your school already has one, then you're on your way. Otherwise, just create a new channel and fill out your school details. Now log into your channel, and in the top right corner, click on the camera icon and select Go Live. Now in the YouTube studio, you want to schedule your stream. So select this Schedule Stream button. Then fill in the details and choose your options. Add a title, choose the date and time, upload a thumbnail, and make sure to check Yes, it's made for kids. Then click Create Stream. In the listing sections, there's the settings, and then under the settings you can copy the shareable link. This will be needed to connect the feed into Araya. Now let's jump back into Araya and add the YouTube widget. Also, don't forget to brand this page with your school colors, your logos, and even include the date and time to make it feel current. Under the widget drop-down, select the YouTube. Then paste the copied URL from YouTube into the URL field and leave the controls checked on. Click OK, and the widget should appear in the center of your page. Scale and size it into location you want. And then the last step will be to schedule this presentation to come on for the live feed. By using the schedule, the live feed will replace the daily messaging, and once scheduled, the regular messaging would be scheduled back on. So that covers how simple a live stream is to set up. Now let's jump back with Josh, who's going to showcase a live feed for us.
Thanks, Marco. So in this section, I'm going to quickly demonstrate how easy it is to live stream to your Araya channel. In this case, we're going to be using YouTube just because it's a really easy thing to set up, and Araya has a built-in YouTube widget for YouTube live streams. Araya isn't limited to just YouTube, however. We can also use video or some other services out there. In this case, this example, we just have a nice big YouTube widget embedded in the background with a YouTube live stream link in it. And then on the other end here on my smartphone, I have the YouTube live streaming application, so I can start streaming just right from my phone. So as easy as going on my phone and hitting start stream, I can now stream myself to anybody watching my Araya channel or even watching the YouTube live link. This could be extremely useful for maybe a principal addressing the entire student body before a basketball game or football game, or maybe the president of a university addressing the student body before the first day of classes. As easy as hopping on my smartphone, I can go and stream to anybody, a wide audience, whether they're actually on campus or at home. So now I'm going to send it back to Walter, and he's going to continue talking about how you can use Araya digital signage to communicate with students, teachers, parents, and even administrators when they're at home.
Thanks. That was an amazing demo showing how easy it is to make live content. Josh really showed how easy it is for someone like a principal to pick up a phone and address everyone, in school and remotely, with an instant live stream. Speaking of remote users, let's move on to connecting outside of the school. It's important to note that students aren't the only ones outside of the school. Your audience may be parents, administrators, or teachers. You can create a channel for each group to help separate the audience and what content they receive, as well as what level of access they have. When thinking about users at home, try to make the content interactive and informative. Use things like Google Forms to survey students, vote for student government, or create a game using a form where they submit answers for a prize. Whenever possible, try to reuse existing integrations and content so you only have one source to update. If you have something like Google Slides for announcements, embed that same Google Slides presentation in all of your digital signage, inside and outside of the school, so you can maximize the potential of your content. If you want to keep your content private, like in the case of administrators and teachers, use Araya's security options to lock down your channel. You can create private channels that require a login, you can use single sign-on to help manage user access, and you can enable IP restrictions to restrict what networks are allowed to access your content. When talking about connecting outside, how do you get your content to the user? With Araya, it's easy to share your link, but what about making an app out of your content, or making it easier to get to through an icon? This is where progressive web apps come into play. PWAs are a new way of creating apps for phones, tablets, and desktops. They are web-based, they work on any device with a modern browser, they look and feel like a native app you would get through the store, and they can be added by the user to the home screen, or one of the big advantages here is that your app can be pushed to devices using management tools like Google Admin Console. So students will already have the app installed when they open their Chromebook. Another great way to use your Araya link is to set it as the home page, so the first thing students and teachers see is your content. You have control over the title, icon, and brand colors for your app. Another great tool is push notifications. With the PWA installed, you can push notifications, letting people know new content is available or notify them a few minutes before a live event begins. Now Josh is going to show us what a PWA looks like and how it all works.
So in this section, we're going to quickly demonstrate one of the most basic features of Arraya, but is also one of the most powerful features that you can leverage for remote communication with students, parents, even teachers and administrators. And that feature is just the basic ability for Arraya to be displayed on a wide range of platforms in different form factors. What you're seeing on all these monitors is the exact same channel. It is just one presentation. One of the things that Marco just talked about was the ability to combine both portrait and landscape content into a presentation. So for example, maybe in the entryway of the school, they have a landscape or a portrait screen installed. For people that might not have access to the internet at home, they can walk just into the entryway and get important information. Or somebody at home with maybe a Chromebook or a laptop PC or even a tablet or a smartphone in portrait mode can access this content and once again stay up to date with what's going on. In this example, we have important events that are coming up in this calendar. We also have a news section, so an always up-to-date newsletter can be published in your Arraya presentation. And then one of the coolest things about this example, which is the ability to submit forms using Google Forms. So in this example, the idea here is to get rid of paper forms completely. So instead of having to go and collect the forms and manually enter them, or even mailing them out to each household, a user can go and submit the forms straight to the school just using the Arraya channel with a Google form embedded in the presentation. And this could be something like a t-shirt order form, or maybe even a fundraiser sign up, or just additional information. So now I'm going to send it back to Walter to wrap things up, and we're going to take a little bit of time to answer any questions that you might have.
Now we have looked at one way to make a complete system of communication, advancing what we do already, creating new content, and realizing how this can work. Not only for schools, administrators, and districts, but for almost any business with a hybrid presence. Today we went over 6 areas. These aren't the only areas where digital signage can help make connections, but hopefully this gives you an overview of what a connected system of digital signage can look like. If you want to learn more, please take a look at our YouTube channel and our blog, where we have additional webinars, information, and knowledge-based articles. I want to thank you for watching today's webinar. As we mentioned, there is a free offer for participating in today's webinar. Mention that you watched it or mention the code Together Wherever, and we will provide you with free Arraya template design and training with your paid subscription. This is a great way to get started quickly. And now I'm going to open it up for any questions. We'll wait here for about 5 minutes to see what questions come in. If you don't have any questions right now, you can always email us, support@arraya.com, or give us a call, 319-294-6671. You can also sign up for a free 30-day trial at any time to give Arraya a try. If you're looking for more information about topics we discussed today, you can find it in our knowledge base and the support section of our website, as well as our YouTube channel.